So maybe we just dial back to 2008. We met in 2008. So do you want to tell our listeners where you were and what you were doing in 2008 that led you to find me down in Utah?
Yes.
Looking for a cool, delicious way to beat the summer heat? Try Postum's refreshing cold beverages. Enjoy a creamy Postum frappe made with milk and just the right touch of sweetener for a smooth, energizing treat. Or dive into a rich Postum milkshake, perfect for those sunny days when you want something tasty and satisfying. Postum gives you that delightful caffeine-free boost with every sip. This summer, chill out with Postum. Refreshment you can feel good about.
Welcome, TWIM Nation. This is This Week in Mormons, the TWIM Taffy edition, which stands for Tiffany and Friends for You. I am your host, Tiffany Hales Tanner, and I am here tonight with a very special guest. I brought my husband, Darren Tanner, on the podcast with me tonight, and I cannot believe he agreed to do this. He is sitting here smiling. Say hi to everybody, Darren.
Hello.
I had a friend who was going to come on, and she had a last minute change of plans, and she wasn't able to come on. So I'm hoping to get her in September. And so Darren agreed to come with me. Now, you have to understand, I have been doing this podcast with Ariane since 2016, or maybe it was 17. I think we started in 2017. And Darren, tell the listeners how many of my podcasts you've listened to.
About 15 seconds of one, somewhere about 2019.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So the fact that he's on the podcast and agreed to come on and co-host with me tonight is really kind of nothing short of amazing. So he's very unfamiliar with our format. So give him some grace tonight, listeners. That's what I'm asking. So
Please.
Before we get to stories, one of the things that we wanted to talk about, just because we feel like we kind of have a little bit of an interesting story, and I've talked about it on the podcast before. This is a second marriage for both of us. We have a blended family, and we have walked a really unique path. Would you say that?
Yes, we have.
So, for the first part of Host Chat, I just thought we would talk a little bit about maybe not so much about our divorces, but we found ourselves divorced, how we found each other, and kind of the evolution of where we are today, because we will have been married 15 years in November, and it has not always been the Brady Bunch.
No, it has not.
So I've been doing a lot of talking. I need to let you say a word in edgewise. So maybe we just dial back to 2008. We met in 2008. So do you want to tell our listeners where you were and what you were doing in 2008 that led you to find me down in Utah?
Yes. So I found myself single, and I had three kids with me, three of my kids, and I thought I was pretty broken, and I just thought what it'd be like to start dating again. So I started dating a little bit.
Now this is 2008, so the internet is pretty new. So how are you dating in 2008?
So it started out in the steak a little
Okay.
bit, and that quickly.
You went to a couple of those single stances.
I did.
And were you frightened?
They were horrifying.
Okay.
So anyway, I had a son, Scott, and he mentioned online dating, and so I believe it was LDS.planet.
It was LDS Planet is what it was called.
That's it.
Because there were two at that time. There was LDS Singles and LDS Planet.
That's right.
This was pre-mutual. All the kids use mutual these days. Anyway, go on.
So that was pretty bold for me to be doing. But I started dating down in Utah to get away kind of from around here.
You lived here in Boise.
I did.
Okay.
And I went on a few dates and find out I wasn't as broken as I thought I was, and that I could still communicate and function. And but I was tired of I'm not sure what I was tired of, but I was ready to get my stuff offline once I was online. I had a
Well,
couple bad
I was going to
experiences
say,
dating.
you told me you had some crazy women who
Yeah.
were like stalking
And when
you.
I had one that was stalking me that showed up at my brother's house trying to find me. And then I found that some of the people really weren't honest
Mhm.
with their profiles and stuff. So I was gonna dial it back a little bit. And I have a daughter who was going through. She would help me say,
Because she
"Hey, she
was
looks
what, like
pretty."
about 10 at the time, maybe. She
Maybe a
was,
little bit younger.
yeah, she was 9 or 10. She was young.
And she ran across your photo and was like, "Hey, Dad, look at this one. Here, give her a message." And so I sent Tiffany a message and I said, "Hey, I'm getting off this site, but if you want to give me a call or a text, that's fine." And then I just deleted all my stuff off. And then I'm not sure who texted first. I think you
I
texted
think I
me.
think I texted you. So from my perspective, I I was actually having a pity party for myself one Saturday night. So I was just thinking to myself, okay, I was in my early 40s and I'm like, I I am a mouthy, overweight lawyer, and I have a baby that is just a little over a year old because my youngest was just a little over a year old and my oldest was a little over 6. And I just thought no one in their right mind is ever going to date me. So in order to have a full pity party, I got online and created a profile because I wanted to see what was out there so I could be really depressed. And so I wasn't even very serious when I put my profile up. And it was within, I think, less than a week that you messaged me. And I went out there and I looked at profiles and yeah, I was just like, yeah, this just it just fed my pity party. It was great fun. But I looked at your profile and I was like, oh, he's kind of cute. And you lived in Boise, and I was living in Utah at the time, but I grew up in Boise, so Boise was an easy ask.
Yeah.
So we just started just kind of texting each other. I came up here, saw you.
Yep. Well, we were talking on the phone
Yeah.
before we met,
Oh, that's right.
and we had a couple really close coincidences
Oh, should we tell him
of
about the one,
family.
the really funny one?
Sure.
Do you want to tell him that story or should I?
Go ahead.
So we are on the phone. In fact, I still remember where I was in my old house in Provo, and we are talking, just kind of getting to know each other, as you do, and just talking about our divorces and our challenges and our kids. And you mentioned that your kids were in counseling, and you mentioned the name of your counselor. You just mentioned her first name, and I won't say her first name on air, but you mentioned her first name, and I said, "Oh." And it's a rather unusual first name. It's
Very.
not. It's not a Lisa or a Mary or a Michelle. And I said, are you talking about so and so? And then I said her last name. And you said, oh, do you know her? And I had a very
And it was
pregnant
your aunt.
pause. And it was my aunt. So that was kind of awkwardly funny.
Very.
Anyway, so we just kind of dated. We were long distance, and so we dated on and off for like 2 years.
Yep.
We were both pretty broken. I was pretty broken too.
I remember at one time we were like, "Hey, let's just give each other a little more break." And
Yeah.
I continued to date. And then on some of the dates, whether they were good or bad in Utah, I would always end up at Tiffany's house talking about my dates.
Exactly.
And and then one, I can't remember which night it was, but when I was down there, I'm like, "Hey, why don't we just start dating again?"
Yeah.
So
So we did. And I feel like we both needed that time just to work through. There are so many emotions when you get divorced, and it is I think it's so hard. I mean, divorce is hard regardless, but I think then you add being a member of the church on top of it, where there is such a focus of eternal marriages, eternal families, and these family units that when you find yourself with a broken family unit, it's devastating.
It is.
It's really devastating. And what were your when you were single? What were kind of how what was it like going to church for you with the kids when you were single?
Um, Mine was pretty. Um, First off, I had a broken heart, and I felt quite a bit alone at that time. But just trying to keep it all together with raising the kids. But it was a dark gray, kind of a misty confusion
Yeah,
time. I'd never ever had my heart broken like that,
yeah,
and just I felt, I don't know, it just didn't feel all together.
yeah, yeah. And that's exactly how I felt too. Is I just felt like such a failure. There has never been anything that has tanked my self esteem like my divorce did. Like it just plummeted my self esteem. It was awful. So anyway, so after 2 years, we decide, hey, let's get married.
Yep, and that was a blast.
And that was a blast. So when we first got married, I was still living in Utah because we got married in November and I wanted to finish out the school year with my kids and then move up here to Boise in once the school year was over with. So we got married in November and then we just kind of tried to see each other as much as we could between November and May, and then we looked for a house. And that was a whole challenge because we were looking for a house in Boise during it was right it was I mean it had been about 2 years after the market crashed, but things were still just like really slow and houses were foreclosures and we had 6 kids between the two of us.
It was.
So
It was hard to find a place that would house us all.
exactly, because we knew we needed a relatively, we knew we needed a big house
Space.
space. And we have between us, we have 3 boys, 3 girls. So we called ourselves the Brady Bunch because they literally stair stepped on down. You had the older 3, I had the younger 3, and they spanned the age range from 18 to 3.
Yep.
It was crazy. So I knew for the girls anyway that I wanted a house where each of the girls could have their own room because I just felt like that was going to be important in the transition, that they could go into their own space and shut the door when they needed to. And then we were just threw the boys all in one big room because, as you like to say, teenage boys have no business with privacy.
Yes, and I was raised with 3 brothers and no sisters, so I knew the openness of a big room, a dorm style, would do the boys good.
Exactly. So we finally found our house. We get married. Describe the first couple years of our
It
marriage.
was a blast. It
It
was
was.
Everything was new. There was new dynamics in the kids.
Yeah.
The younger ones were children now. The older
Ones were
ones were
middle
middle,
children.
and it was really actually a blast.
It was. It was. And how long would you say the blast lasted?
Probably about a year and a half, two
Oh, I think
years.
so too. And then what happened after that?
Then came the real work.
Exactly.
The fun was a little bit over.
If you grew up watching the Brady Bunch, you honestly think that that is how blended families are until you actually have a blended family.
That's right.
So, what do you think some of the challenges? What is your recollection of some of the challenges for us when it got hard, when the fun wore off?
Um, I think the communication had kind of slowed down between you and me
They
because we were
had.
busy in every direction.
We were in survival mode with the kids.
We
Yeah.
really were,
Yeah.
and I'm not I'm not sure, but it just kind of felt like it just started to be like work, like
Hmm.
solid work. There was no more fun in it.
Yeah.
The kids were probably just being
Kids.
kids. Yeah,
And they would pit us against each other.
very much.
And I think that I mean, I think that's especially true in a blended family. I mean, you get that in a regular family as
Yeah.
well. You get that in a nuclear family. The kids will try, and if the kids sense weakness and division among the
They
parents,
will head.
they will go in for the kill. But you add the blended family dynamic, and that's
Yeah, we still had a little bit of the X side hitting,
we did. We
and
had challenges with exes.
and I'm not sure. Everything just felt like it was falling apart.
Yeah, yeah. But we did do a few good things
We did.
during that time
We
period.
did.
Otherwise, we probably wouldn't be sitting here today. So, what are some of the good things that we did during that time period?
Well, we made it to the temple and got
We did.
sealed,
We
which was
did.
a
You
big
and I got
thing.
sealed because we got married civilly first.
Yeah.
So we did our sealing. We also, I remember, I think we were still probably doing date nights on a pretty regular basis.
Date night.
Date nights.
Yeah.
We had a commitment that we would once a week. We took the kids to the temple early morning.
Every Thursday morning.
Every Thursday
we were up
morning.
way early.
Way early, and that was. I am not a morning person. That was a huge sacrifice for me. Huge.
It was big.
It was
because
big.
I think we woke up at 4:35.
4:30 or 5. Yeah, because our temple was a good 25-minute drive for us. So, but yeah, I mean, we and I should say, we are very different people.
Very different.
So, explain to the listeners how we are very different people.
Well, we have nothing in common other than our faith.
Yes.
In Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And I think that is it. I think that's all. We are so opposite.
We have more in common than that. But yes, we are very opposite. Give them an example of how opposite we are. Like what you like to do and what I like to do.
I like to be in the mountains, and Tiffany likes to be in the urban areas.
It's very true. So his idea of a fantastic vacation is backpacking in the mountains for a week.
Oh, yeah.
My idea of an ideal vacation is I want to go to New York City.
Right.
We have a difficult time settling on movies to watch.
Right.
We have a difficult time settling on TV shows to watch.
Very.
But at the same time, I think opposites attract. I think that we're also like complementary to each other in our differences as well.
We are.
So, okay, so that the challenges, I should say, the challenges got worse before they got better.
There was a lot of them.
There was a lot of them.
But I loved what we were trying to do because we're still hitting the temple.
Yeah.
You and I
Yeah,
had a
we
goal
were.
to be there. And but it just didn't feel like we were connected.
No, it didn't.
So-
And I think the real big turning point was 4 or 5 years ago, probably about 4.5, 5 years ago by now. We had a very significant trial involving one of our children.
Yeah.
Now, we're not going to go into the details of any of that, but it pushed our marriage to the brink. And we were to the point where we were like, are we going to stay in this marriage or are we going to call it quits? And I think that's something different about a second marriage. Explain your thoughts on that.
My thought, they felt a second marriage feels disposable. Because after the first one, you're like, well, this one won't be as bad as the first one.
Yeah.
And that's the way my mindset was going was, hey, we'll just meet up later. And if we make it,
Yeah.
But it was pretty much, hey, let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's just call it quits.
Yeah. And we had a really critical week where we had to decide, are we going to do that or are we not?
Yeah.
And, I mean, we can look back on it now and I think we can really see at that juncture the forces of Satan at work. I mean, he wanted to break us up and he wanted to break our family up.
To destroy this family.
Exactly. He really did. And it ultimately was something one of our children said to us and said, are we going to let Satan win?
Right.
And And I still remember that because it was so pointed when he said, if we don't do this, we let Satan win. Do we want to let Satan win? And I think it was at that point in time we made a collective decision, you and I, we don't want to let Satan win. And we still had a lot of work to go because we
We
were at
had,
a super, super, super low point.
yeah. Plus, those thoughts had changed day by day or
Oh, they
hour
were.
by
Yeah.
hour at that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But we were very blessed at the time because we were working in the
Mhm.
laundry at the
We were.
temple, and that gave us a commitment that we
Exactly.
both knew we had to be there
Together
together.
and work
And
together.
usually we ended in the celestial room
Yeah.
talking,
Yeah.
and that was just probably one of the things that held it all together
Yeah.
right there was
Yeah.
the service that we were able to serve the youth and in the
Yeah.
baptistry area. So
Well, and I'm trying to remember, we started doing companionship prayer.
that
And
is,
I cannot remember if we started doing companionship prayer shortly before we had this trial or if we started doing it
I
because of this
I think
trial.
we started a little bit before
That's
that
what I thought too.
because I was working on a few things
Uh-huh.
with well, I was reading my mission journal one time, and I was
Uh-huh.
reading about my first companion, Elder Escobar, and I was reading about the wonderful prayers that we would have answered
Mm-hmm.
in both of our faiths. And I remember you and I were saying, "Hey, let's start it," and they started very weird,
Oh, it was
and
bizarre.
it when we first started
It
companionship
was
prayer,
so awkward.
it felt it was not easy, but but since then they've grown into it's part of our life.
I think it's absolutely. I don't know if I can point to a better glue that has held our marriage together than companionship prayer.
It is.
And so let's describe for the listeners how we do companionship prayer.
So we meet up right before bed, and Sunday through Thursday night we take Fridays and
And I
Saturdays.
have to say that was a compromise because you are a morning person and I am a night person.
Yep.
And you would want to be in bed at like 9:30 or 10, and I would want to be out here on the computer, and I'd be like, "Bye, I'll see you in a couple hours." And I remember you very specifically saying, "I want you to come to bed at the same
Yeah.
time with me.
I need you with
I
me.
need you with me." And I was like, "Do I have to fall asleep?" And you're like, "No,
No, just
you just have to be there."
that's right.
So that was a big change for me that I was like, "Okay, I'm going to shut it down," because I was used to that time between like 10 and midnight being Tiffany mom time to just decompress from all the mom stuff during the day. And so I made a very conscious decision. I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to join you in bed.
Yep.
Okay, so back to companionship prayer and how we do it.
So we take turns
Yes.
every other night,
Monday through Thursday, or
and
Sunday
Sunday through
through Thursday.
Thursday, and some of these prayer. I mean, it is a lot of work
It
because
is.
we gear up and we sit there for a minute and we talk about the things. Sometimes it's the blessings or the answers to prayer that we want to discuss, so we talk about it. Or maybe there's someone in our lives that need extra prayer. Me mainly with the young men, and Tiffany with her calling in the Relief Society. So there's always someone in our ward that needs extra bit of faith and prayer.
Mhm.
And then we kind of work through our kids
Oh yeah.
and
We spend a
through
lot of time on our kids.
but some of these prayers, I mean, when we're praying, we're able to stop and talk about if we're on the same, just whatever we're talking
Yeah.
about, we're able
We
to stop and
we will legit in the middle of a prayer stop and
stop
have a conversation
and
and then
discuss
go
it
back.
and back to the Heavenly
Yeah.
Father. And I think I mean, we've seen miracles upon miracles upon miracles with the bonding of this in our life.
We really have. And what's the other thing that's really fun is when we see a miracle, and a lot of these miracles are just very small miracles. I mean, then there's larger miracles too, but when we see those small miracles, maybe for someone that we've been praying for, we will connect that and we will go, "Oh, that's because
We'll
we
talk about
prayed."
it. It
We'll talk
is.
about it. That's because we
Yeah,
prayed for him.
it is.
And I also think it helps because we are such different people, I really think that like it helps unify us because we are praying for very specific things and very specific people. And so again, those people and those things are on our mind because we have been praying for them. And then it allows the spirit to touch our mind because it's already there in our mind. I don't think the spirit can touch your mind if it's not already in your mind.
Right. And being specific in
Yeah.
our words and our prayers and what we're offering
Yeah.
and asking.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, should we, I don't know, you tell me, should we share what happened yesterday with our son?
just yesterday alone.
Just yesterday
Yeah,
alone.
sure.
Okay. So I'll tell you what happened. This will just be an example. So yesterday we have a son that's 21 and he does not drive and he goes to a single adult ward and they're having a big young adult single conference here in the Boise Valley right now. And he usually goes to church with one of his buddies that he grew up with in Young Men's and he drives him to church. Well, his buddy didn't get registered for the conference. And so the conference, a lot of it is happening over in Canyon County, which is the next county over from us. And so this child needed a ride. And so Wednesday night, he said, Mom, can you take me? And I said, sure. I said, where are we going? He tells me where we're going. And then later on, he comes back and he says, oh, no, we're not going there. We're going to the Birch Building at 8 in the morning. So I drive him over there to the Birch Building at 8 in the morning. There are no cars in the parking lot. So I said, okay, let's go get a donut. So we go get a donut. I bring him back and I said, why don't you just sit and wait at or he looks on his phone. He said, oh, I guess it doesn't start until 9. I said, okay. You go and sit at the picnic tables, eat your donuts, have a great day. By 9, everybody will be arriving. So I take off and I head back to work. And then you tell what happens after that.
So
And this is 20 miles away from us.
yes.
Okay.
So our other son, him and his coworker, and my son's the passenger, are headed to up northern Idaho,
They've
and
been doing some deliveries.
yeah,
And
they're
some
delivering
pickups
out
over
in
in
Caldwell
Nampa.
and in
Yeah.
Nampa, and the driver who's his he punches in the location to get up to Cascade, and it sends him down on a back road
in Nampa.
and they start coming closer and our son notices that it's our other son. He's like, what the heck is going on?
Walking on the road is either my brother or a doppelganger for my brother.
So he calls him, they turn around and pick him up, and then they get him to his location. And today, when I was mentioning this to Isaac's coworker, right? And I was just telling him, look how the Lord answered a prayer through your driving, and you guys weren't even discussing, just because Mark would have got ran over.
He would have. We love Mark, but he missed the common sense line up in heaven. He just didn't get in that one. No. He got the personality line a couple times, but he skipped the common sense line.
But that is just, last night when we were praying about it, and just the wonderful gift of when we pray for Mark, that's one of the specific things we pray for, because he's always on his scooter or on his feet walking or on a bike, and
just to be safe.
He's been protected so many times.
So many times.
And this is just one where we were like, Heavenly Father really did remove him off the road in a safe manner.
Exactly. So. and just when you think about it again, Will just punched in on the GPS how to get to this Cascade, which is 2 hours away.
And he didn't even know who Mark was.
No. Yeah. So no, kind of crazy. But no, that's just an example of some of what we perceive as just really the power of companionship prayer that we do together.
Yeah. And I think our faith, it more than doubles when we're praying the way we pray. I know it does.
Yeah.
Because of especially the tenderness and the compassion which we've been able to learn. And getting the stubbornness out of me in the last few years have come through the power of our companionship prayer. I want to be a better listener. I want to listen to you better, more and more. And it's just one of the. I think it's the biggest thing in our life that we've ever done. And to even last night, it was not easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we know that some of them are lengthy, and
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but they are so worth it
Yeah.
to just um, to be next to my wife and listen to her prayers and to be able to comment and to just feel her faith right next to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a wonderful power.
Yeah. No, it's very cool. And that brings us to the next point that I want to say. Our communication has changed in the last couple of years, few years as well. It's been a gradual evolving, but I think both of us have learned to listen better
Oh,
and lecture less.
way. We never point out a negative thing in
No,
each other's
we're
lives
trying to
ever.
stay away from that.
Yeah, and it's to build each other, to
Yeah.
love each other, and then
Yeah.
all the things that need fixed kind of just
Yeah.
fix upon our
Yeah.
gifts.
Well, and you started loving me differently. And when you started loving me differently, a lot of the walls and things that I had just kind of melted away.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I don't know how you figured out how to love me differently other than just to accept me and love me regardless. But you did, and it just that was a whole pivot in our marriage as well.
It was. I remember, and we talk about this sometimes, but I had a very spiritual experience with a dream from your mom.
Yeah.
And she just wanted her daughter loved, like she'd always wanted her loved. And that was a huge turning point in my life of taking that more of a dream,
Yeah.
because it was more real than any of my dreams. But that was to where I gave it all
Yeah.
right then,
Yeah.
I do not I don't want to show up and not have put everything effort into this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I no longer feel like our marriage is in any way disposable.
no,
No.
not at all.
In fact, it's kind of funny because I think both of us, we look back on those really hard years and it's almost cringy. It's almost like junior high cringy. And we're like,
Yes.
ew, it probably wasn't as bad as we remember. But because right now is so good that it makes that seem really bad.
Well, we're both hard to love and hard to give our love. You
It's
know what I
very
mean?
true. That's
And once
very
we learn
true.
that, especially coming through a divorce, to let yourself be able to love that
Yeah.
much again, or to be loved
Yeah. Or to
that
be
much
loved because you
is,
have those walls after a
yeah,
divorce. You don't want to open up and
exactly.
allow yourself to be that vulnerable and feel that hurt ever again.
But often, not even in our prayers, but after our prayers or whatever, we talk about our the eternal part of our marriage that
Mm-hmm.
we have so much faith in. And the joke a couple weeks ago was, "Will you love me in a million
Yeah,
years? Huh?
exactly.
Will you still love me in a
A
million
million years is a
years?"
long time. Well, and then the last thing I want to talk about that before we move on to some actual news stories, since that's why we're here, is again, because we have like such a different interest and we are such different people, one of the things that we do together as a couple that again I think has helped solidify and strengthen our relationship. So why don't you explain to them the things that we like to do together as a couple?
We like to serve.
We love to serve
In,
together.
in fact, we switched our prayers up a few years ago.
Yeah.
That if to put, we would ask Heavenly Father, and we still ask Him
Yes,
to
we do.
please put people in our way that we can serve with our own different gifts.
Yeah.
There's things which I love to serve, and but being with you, I I enjoy every bit
Yeah.
of service.
Yeah. And a lot of that is for the youth, both in our ward and our state. We have a lot of widows and widowers in our ward. Sometimes it's people that we work with. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just,
it's a
it's
whole,
our neighbors. It spans the globe.
and we really do get people put in our way,
We do.
and they're
We
very
do.
sacred to us. We
Yeah.
very rarely talk about
Yeah.
other than
Together. Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Especially the widows. We
Yeah.
love the
We love
widows
the
and the
widows in our
widower
ward.
ward,
Yeah.
and we know how choice they are.
Yeah, we do. So, Anyway, well, thank you so much for sharing and talking about our marriage because again, the listeners have heard me talk a lot and I thought it would be really interesting for a lot of them just to kind of hear, the path that we've been on for the last 15 years because it's been a bit unusual is the only way to
Yes.
describe it.
Huh.
Okay, so now we will do so this is how I normally do a podcast is although I don't usually do 30 minutes of host chat, it's
Right.
usually only like 15 maybe 20 minutes of host chat before I get into stories, but we had a lot to say tonight. So now we'll talk about a few stories. What I will do is I will just kind of give the lead in, talk about the
Okay.
story, and then you can pipe in with any comment that you want.
Okay.
So, the first story that I want to talk about tonight is I want to talk about a church building that was formerly owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the DC area. I had never heard of this building before. And did you know that this church building in DC, and we sold it after, well, let me back up here. Let me talk about how the building came to be.
Okay.
So in the early 1900s, the church was struggling with polygamy, and the United States government wasn't very happy with the church because of polygamy. And then the church, of course, disavowed polygamy, and the United States government, before that happened, had taken a bunch of the church's property. There was just, to quote Taylor Swift, there was bad blood. There was lots of bad blood between the federal government and the LDS church. So the church disavows polygamy, and they're trying to kind of move the boat, kind of shift the boat and turn the boat around.
Okay.
So in the early 1900s, there is a senator from Utah, and his name is Reed Smoot. Not only is he a senator, but he is also an apostle for the church. So he's back in Washington, D.C. He's got his family back there. Well, President Theodore Roosevelt apparently took a liking to Senator Smoot's wife, Alpha Smoot, and they became good friends. And so as a result of this, things were kind of able to turn around in Washington, D.C. And the church decided that they needed to have a presence, a very kind of wow sort of building in Washington, D.C. as a meeting house to kind of create this presence in Washington, D.C. So they purchased this corner in Washington, D.C., and it said, this is Elder Smoot who said, we purchased the best corner. It cost the church $54,000. And this was in the early 1930s. So $54,000 in the early 1930s amongst the Depression era,
Money.
that's no small chunk of change. Anyway, so they build this building and they quarried the marble for this building out of Utah. They drug it by horse out of Spanish
Wow.
Fork Canyon, and then they shipped it east by the railroad. So they build this building, and I'm going to show you a picture of this building. I never even heard of this building till I read this article. But let me show you a picture of this building because it's just unreal. So here is, you know what? No, let's do this. I took one and I screenshot it on my phone. Check this out. What does that building look like?
Wow.
It looks like a temple.
Yeah, it does.
And look what they have on the top
Sphere.
of the building.
Moroni.
They have an angel Moroni. So they built this building kind of like almost like a little miniature Salt Lake City temple. They slap an angel Moroni on the top of this church building, which would be like sacrilegious today. And so they used this church building. It was dedicated in 1933. They ended up vacating it in 1975 after they had dedicated the new Washington, D.C. temple. And what's really cool about this building is President Nelson was a bishop in this building when he was back there. He was, what did the article say? He was serving in the military back there. And when he was serving in the military back there, he functioned as a bishop in the 1950s while serving as a young medical officer at Walter Reed Army Hospital. So when the church vacated this building, they ended up selling it for $300,000 to Columbia Road Recording Studios. Well, Columbia Road Recording Studios resold that building the same day for $475,000. So they turned $175,000 profit in 1974 in one day. And they sold it to the Unification Church who are also known as the Moonies. So the
Okay.
Unification Church has been occupying this building since the 1970s. And this is a very old building. It has started to decay. And the Unification Church actually abandoned it several years ago. But there are members of the Unification Church that are so tied to this building. Like they were camping out in the building, they were sleeping in the building, they had to get them evicted from the building. And so the Unification Church now wants to sell this building to a developer who wants to create apartments. And there's still a lot of Latter-day Saint artwork in this building in the form of stained glass.
Wow.
There is some absolutely stunning stained glass in this building that, and so it's really architecturally and culturally very beautiful. It is registered as a historic place. So the Unification Church is, some of the members of the Unification Church are opposing this redevelopment. Members of the LDS Church are saying, okay, the redevelopment's okay, but you got to leave the stained glass windows. You got to do something with the stained glass windows. Don't destroy the beauty of this
Right.
artwork. So it's kind of remains to see what will happen. Do you have any suspicions on where you think the angel Moroni is? Do you think he's still on the building?
I have no idea.
The angel Moroni is not still on the building.
Okay.
We did not sell the building
Okay.
to the Unification Church with an angel Moroni.
Good.
He was promptly removed. And should you want to visit the angel Moroni that was on top of this ward building, you could go to the LDS Church History Museum because that's where
it's at.
that's where he's located. He's located at the
Nice.
Church History Museum. So it'll be interesting to follow that story and see what happens with that building. Honestly, I had no idea. I did a semester in DC. Of course, that was in the 90s, and so the church wasn't using that building at all anymore, but I'd never even heard of this building until I read this article.
Wow.
I know. So, okay, our next article, we'll make this one brief. The church donated 20,000 mango, avocado, and orange seedlings to Kisumu County in Kenya, which marked the official launch of the East African country's Trees for Food project on July 31st. So in Kenya, they are trying to they want to have 9.1 million seedlings, and they want to take these seedlings for these fruit trees and they want to plant them and they want to use them for two purposes. First of all, to feed their people.
Right.
And second, for economic growth, to be able to sell the product of
Right.
these trees and really help revitalize their economy and their people. And so the church infused them with this great donation. The government in Kenya was very happy about that. And just how that aligned with their strategy of promoting fruit farming. There were so many stories this week that I could have selected on humanitarian work.
Nice.
You know, when we were going through stories last night, just to kind of talk about what we might want to talk about, it never ceases to amaze me how much time and effort and money the church is putting in to humanitarian work all around the world, and specifically in a lot of these developing and growing countries where the church is using resources to not only better the saints, but better the entire country and make the entire country a better place. So
nice.
That's kind of cool. All right. Our next article. We can have some comments on this one.
Okay.
I read this one to you. There is an author by the name of Brandon Mull, and he is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He has written this series called Fable Haven. Neither you nor I are very voracious readers at all. Really, none of our kids are.
Right.
So we in our family never really got into this series, but I know a lot of LDS families have read his books and his series, and that they're very popular. It's clean material. It's very, very family friendly from what I know about it. He was speaking this week at the FAIR conference, and the FAIR conference is, I can't remember what FAIR stands for. It's somewhere in this article, but it's a conference that they held at Thanksgiving Point down in Utah, and it is for faithful members of the church. So he is speaking at this FAIR conference. It's not put on by the church. It's just kind of church affiliated, that what you go and get there is going to be faith affirming, as opposed to the opposite.
Okay.
Is what the fair conference is. So it was really interesting because he was talking about his divorce. I had no idea he was divorced, and talking about just exactly kind of what we have talked about, just a lot of the struggles in his marriage. And his wife came to him after a number of years and said, "This isn't working for me anymore." And he was like, "I need to make changes." And he was trying to make those changes, trying to save his marriage. That didn't end up happening for him. They still ended up divorced, but he talks about how he was just a different person having gone through this. And I really liked what he said, because he said he really had to dig deep and choose God. And I think for both of us, when we were struggling, that was the same thing. We had to dig deep and choose our faith and choose turning to Christ. And that's what he said. Is he said, he began to really understand the atonement. And he said, this personal understanding that what makes hardships in this life okay is that eventually, when and he's referring to the Savior, chooses when the time is right, he's referring to the Savior, can fix it. And when I say he can fix it, he recreates you as if the harm never happened. There's no scars. There's just everything you learned from the experience and the state of being healed from it. And I really liked that, because that's kind of where I feel like our marriage is right now in comparison to, where it was 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
Is I feel like I feel like we've learned from the experience. I feel like while there's memories that are cringeworthy, I don't feel like they're scars.
No, I do too. I like how he's talking about forgiveness and that feeling, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
of freeing himself through the atonement and
Yeah.
with the help of Jesus Christ, because both of us spent quite a bit of time
Yeah.
dealing with that and trying to, especially me, with
Yeah.
understanding agency and also the forgiving and
And letting go.
Yeah, that's a huge part of
Yeah.
what helped our marriage. As soon as I was able to forgive a few things,
Yeah.
even into my ex-wife,
Yeah. Yeah.
it changed my heart.
Exactly.
So
It changed. And isn't that just, it is so amazing to me how forgiveness really just does change your heart and allows you to really see the person that you feel has harmed you as a child of God, and helps you to be able to see them like God does. They're not perfect.
right,
I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. None of us are perfect, but the Lord accepts us and loves us even with all those imperfections.
especially the understanding of the atonement, for him to be able to
Yeah.
take upon all that hurt. That was
Yeah.
and to it's gone.
It's gone.
Through the atonement.
Exactly. Exactly.
I like
So
that story.
that was a great story. And then I picked this next one. This was kind of every once in a while, the church newsroom, they will do a story that's kind of like uplifting for leaders and things like that. And I picked this one because it was written by Thomas E. Mullen, and he is on the Young Men's General Advisory Council. And in the 15 years we have been married, have you had any other calling other than Young Men's?
Nope.
Nope.
Through my whole life. So
Through his whole life, he's always been in Young Men's.
yeah.
And so Brother Mullen talks about when he was on his mission president was President M. Russell Ballard. And President Ballard had given them a talk by Spencer W. Kimball called Jesus, the Perfect Leader. And he told the missionaries to read it. And Brother Mullen pulls out 4 different things from this talk. And I want to go back and read this talk now. And here's why I want to go back and read this talk now. The things that Brother Mullen pulls out and the way he talks about them are very much the way we talk about things these days. Well, Spencer W. Kimball would have given this talk in the 70s, and you and I were little kids in the 70s. And the way the gospel was taught in the 70s,
Right.
very, very different
Very different.
from how it's being taught now. But the first thing he says, be with them. So I think you do a really good job of being with the young men. How is it that you try and show up and be with the young men?
I think I just know that that's important. I mean, we've been told over and over that when we're with him, right?
Yes.
and we're able to connect them to heaven and
Yes.
the different things. But it also shows that we are interested
Exactly.
and that we do care about them and we value them, especially when we're praying. Okay, well, we're able to talk about this in our prayers. I bring
Yes.
some of the young men into our
You
prayers.
do. You do.
And so you know how important that is to me, because I feel like they need extra prayers once in a while, and I
Yeah.
know that it does change. But being with them lets them that it shows them you're in.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that you do want to be with them and hang out with them,
And
no
they're
matter what it is.
important to you.
If it's a spiritual thing or a goof off thing or in the mountains, it's a good thing.
And that's exactly what Brother Mullen said. Is he said, be with them in formal and informal group settings. And even if you're like, say it's not a young men's Sunday, it's a Sunday school Sunday, and you're walking down the hall at church. How many arm punches do you give to the
They're
young
getting
men?
all
They're
of
all
them.
getting arm punches. If they walk past you, they're getting an arm punch by Brother Tanner.
Well, what's funny, in the last few years, they've seen me fall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They've seen me complete. I got dehydrated in the desert
Uh-huh.
a year and a little bit
Couple years
ago.
ago, yeah.
And that's one thing that I've always preached when we're out there: drink water, drink water. Well, I didn't drink water, and
And it almost didn't end well for you.
no, it did not. But they were able to watch. Hey, Brother Tanner.
Yeah.
Look, he's pretty stupid. He didn't drink water. So, but it's. I think it's so important just to like
Yeah.
you say, let them know they're recognized. And I'm not sure where we're headed, but when you're praying for them, when you're praying for these youth,
Yeah.
you get to Heavenly Father. Well, especially when you're with them in the quorums and at temple night, He gives you a vision of what their parents are seeing.
Yeah.
But moreover, what Heavenly Father, how much you get to see him from His eyes a little bit of how choice they are nowadays, how smart and gifted.
Yeah.
They all have gifts and talents, like huge.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before. When our two older sons were in young men's, the shift in the focus and how you interacted with those boys versus how you interact with the boys today, because the boys today are very different from what you couldn't do today with like what you used to do with our older sons.
No.
And you can't treat them that way either.
No, you can't. They are just that choice.
Yeah. But the kids today are so spiritually grounded. I am blown away when I see how spiritual and the testimonies that these kids have at such a young age. That certainly wasn't me when I was that age. Certainly wasn't our older kids when they were that age.
Right. And we talk about this. There used to be mischief and troublemakers,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you'd have to give extra
Yeah.
love or whatever, pay attention. But it just seems like our quorums nowadays, especially in our ward right now, our quorum is so
just
together
solid
and solid. They watch out for each other.
Yeah.
They teach us of the importance of that quorum feeling and the sanctity of it. So
they really do. So the next thing that Elder Mullen says is he says, use for the strength of youth guide. So how do you do that with the youth?
I think that just comes up mainly in our quorums and in the things which they're teaching. Because they're teaching our lessons in quorum. And
well, and I think the most amazing thing about for the strength of youth is just what the guide looked like when our older kids were there.
Right.
And our youngest is 18. So she just aged out. She just graduated and what it looked like for her.
Right.
Completely different guide.
Right. A whole different language.
Whole different language.
Of the same topics.
Exactly.
Right. I think the Strength for Youth is a wonderful guide. It lets them know, and I think it even says that in there, that of Christ's love for them.
Yeah.
That is what they're learning, the principles of Jesus Christ.
Exactly. So the third thing that Brother Mullen talks about is he talks about service, sacrifice as leadership standards.
Nice.
Now, I know you have a lot to say about service because our boys, your quorum, they do a lot of service.
We
And
try to keep them busy.
tell our listeners why you feel that is so important. Why that's a big, because it's hard. The kids sometimes don't want to serve,
Yeah.
and they sometimes don't have the
Plus,
best
they're
data pattern.
busy.
Yeah.
Everybody is busy nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much other, you could be doing. And when
Yeah.
you ask them, but when you teach the youth, but I can say the young men,
Yeah.
to pray for opportunities, to look for opportunities. Or last year when we were teaching them about serving the widows and the widowers and the single sisters, we went to visit them, especially the
Yes.
widows,
This was
and
such a cool activity you guys
yeah,
did.
we wanted them to let them feel of who they were serving and to know a little bit about their spouses, that they miss them so bad and they're in
Yeah.
their homes, and you would think they'd be so lonely, which I know they are,
Yeah.
but but they're watched over so deeply by
Yeah.
the Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ and protected. And I think it was so good for them, because when the snow came, what I wanted their hearts to be softened enough to not have a leader call them
Uh-huh.
or send out a text, hey, let's go shovel, but it would happen that they would just go do it themselves.
Yeah.
Different little parts of it.
Yeah.
Even our leaders were doing different parts on their own,
Exactly.
as far as
So just to kind of explain to the listeners what you did is you had picked a Wednesday night.
mm-hmm.
I helped you contact. I reached out to several sisters as well as a widower we had in our ward, and I said, Darren wants to bring the young men over to visit with you for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And so you went into their homes. You had this 15-minute visit with them. The boys asked them, hey, tell us about your spouse. Tell us about, your relationship. Tell us something fun. And they were over the moon to talk about their spouses.
Oh.
And I think it helped those boys form a connection. So now when they see that individual at church, they're like, I know something about them. I know about their spouse. I know about what they miss or what their spouse's favorite food was. And it just helped form that connection. And the boys legit loved it.
They did.
They really,
they really did listen.
they did.
And I think their hearts were just like so softened to the understanding that their best friend
Yeah.
is no longer,
Yeah.
on earth with them,
Yeah.
So that just helped. It just made it connect so much better.
Yeah, it really did. And I think it was also good for ward unity as well, because you've got the youth connecting with those older people. And like you said, then when the snow came, there were a couple of days where there were young men who were,
Yeah.
fighting over whose driveway, who was going to get to Sister So-and-so's driveway first.
They're our favorites.
They're our favorites. And so good for those boys to learn.
And what was best about that is we did not have to say anything.
No.
You know what I mean? Because either they went by, they saw that she needed, or whoever needed leaves, a few more picked up towards the end of the year, or when the snow came. So they were on their own.
It was great. And then the last thing that Elder Mullen talks about is he says, see eternal potential. And he says, President Kimball marveled that Jesus saw people not as they were, but as they could become. So how do you see eternal potential in your young men, in your quorum?
When you look at the world and listen to what's going on, you kind of go, wow, what's it going to be like in 10 or 15 years? But when you're in quorum or with these young men and young women, we've done young women's camp.
Yeah.
You get the feeling of, we're going to be fine. They are wonderful. Yeah. They're smart. They want to serve.
Yeah.
And there's just so choice of them wanting to do good.
Yeah.
And it's just a wonderful thing.
It is. It's so awesome. So thank you for sharing your thoughts. Like I said, I loved that article. Okay, we are running up on our hour. So I am just going to hit a couple of stories that I think I posted them on our Facebook page. If not, I'll get them up there. There's a couple of sister missionaries, and they are biological sisters, and they are serving in a mission together over in the Adriatic North Mission.
Wow.
And I read this story to you last night.
Yeah.
They grew up for most of their adult lives, they lived on opposite coasts. And there was just a set of circumstances that brought them together to be able to serve. It was never planned that way. They both had things happen in their lives, and the Lord just aligned things so that they could go serve in this mission together. And apparently, this mission that they're in has the first older single brother that is now allowed to serve. And when I read that to you last night, you're
I
like,
had no idea.
what? The church changed that? You could go on another mission when you're older and single if you're a guy? It's very true. Now, don't get any ideas. Because I'm going to stick around for a very long time to harass
please
you.
do.
And then we read another article together last night, which I'll just briefly touch on. Again, kind of a great idea. This happened in Denver. They put together literally a table that was a mile long.
Nice.
So they put together a whole bunch of tables. They invited members of the community to come together. They had food. I'm not exactly sure like if they did a potluck or how they did the food portion of it, but they had 3,400 people show up and sit at this mile long table. And the purpose of it was to have different people interacting to be able to create community and combat loneliness. And so it was a combined effort between the church and a couple of different organizations in Denver. And I thought, wow, what a great community activity to and I love that the church is doing more of these now, and we're participating in more of these community type events, because sometimes we can really self-isolate.
Yeah.
And people think that, we're snooty or we're elitist or we're standoffish because we only hang out with other members of the church. And so I like that the focus is shifting towards engaging in the community and expanding our circle of influence and people that we can help. Okay.
Nice.
The last story before I get to Mormons behaving badly. I don't know if I've ever told you about my Mormons behaving badly section. Anyway, the last story. This I thought was hilarious. AI is everywhere, but can it write obituaries? And so this was written by Holly Richardson, and I think I'm trying to remember if she's a Deseret News reporter. I think she's a Deseret News reporter. Yes, she's a Utah policy contributor to the Deseret News. So her mother-in-law had recently passed away, and her husband, I believe, or her brother-in-law was struggling to write the mother-in-law's obituary. And so apparently there's all sorts of programming that, the article talks about funeral directors writing obituaries. And I'm like, funeral directors? Every time anybody's ever died in my family, the family's been writing it. But I guess maybe some families might not be that adept. Anyway, so there's like an AI program that you can go in and answer 100 questions about the dead person, and it will spit out an obituary and write it. And I'm like, now that's really interesting, because if you've ever been on Family Search, the church snaps up those obituaries and they dump them into Family Search. And so, are we going to start looking
Is this how you're going to write mine?
Oh, no. No. I am not letting AI write your obituary.
Okay.
I will be handling that job personally.
Oh, boy.
Maybe you should want to have AI write your obituary. Anyway, very, very interesting thought about things that AI is doing. Okay, so that concludes our news stories. Now, my next section that I always do is Mormons behaving badly. And some of these Mormons behaving badly stories are funny. Some of them are very serious. Oh, I hate covering the abuse ones. I have two individuals that I have given awards to in Mormons behaving badly. Ammon Bundy is
awards.
They get awards.
Okay.
So do you remember the sheriff over in in eastern Idaho that chased the girls down who put the handprint turkeys?
Yeah.
He got I can't remember what award I gave him. He got like an outstanding award for Mormons behaving badly. I don't remember what exactly the award I gave him. But Ammon Bundy is my Lifetime Achievement Award winner. Because Ammon Bundy has provided me so much content for Mormons behaving badly. And so, of course, just this week we had another Ammon Bundy story in the news. So I always do an update on my Lifetime Achievement Award winner. As many of you know, there was a little civil lawsuit. He got a $52 million judgment against him. He fled Idaho. He's now living in Utah. He filed bankruptcy in Utah with the hopes of discharging this judgment. Um, the St. Luke's, who got the judgment against him, went in and opposed that and said there was fraud, because in bankruptcy court, if judgments are the basis of fraud, then or other nefarious acts, they cannot be discharged. And so the judge in Utah, the bankruptcy judge in Utah, took Ammon and his lawyers' arguments and took the other arguments and ultimately ruled that the $52 million judgment was not dischargeable in bankruptcy. So Brother Bundy is still on the hook for a few dollars. And when contacted by the media for comment, he said, "I don't believe in slavery." So anyway, there you go. There's our update on Brother Bundy. Okay, now our last segment.
Hold on. Have I ever been on Mormons behaving badly myself?
You have never been
Oh,
on
good.
Mormons
Oh,
behaving
good.
badly. That's a legit question to
Yes,
ask.
that is.
No, you
Oh,
have
good.
you have to engage in some sort of crime or nefarious behavior that is so outrageous. I'll give you an example of some nefarious behavior that is so outrageous that Ariane and I went on the soapbox for this. There was a school board member in Utah, and she had taken a picture of a high school girl on the basketball team, and she had circulated this picture around, questioning whether or not this child was actually a girl. This child had always been a girl. And this child ended up getting doxxed and hazed and a whole bunch of stuff as a result of this school board member questioning, is this child really a girl that's playing basketball on this team? And so, yeah, it wasn't a criminal act, but it was kind of reprehensible. So she got on Mormons behaving badly. So that is an example of how you can land yourself on Mormons behaving badly.
So do you have Mormons behaving goodly?
Occasionally I do.
Oh,
in
nice.
fact, I did have a category called Mormons behaving goodly. And a lot of the stuff that we end up doing
Talking about
in our news segment,
they make it
ends up in there because we try and cover positive news. One segment I did not do tonight, just because there really wasn't anything there, is I usually have a segment, Mormons in the Media, because we have lots and lots of reality shows these days that feature members of the church.
Nice.
And so we will talk about a lot of Mormons in the media in that segment. But I didn't run across anything this week, so you didn't have to worry about Mormons in the media. You were spared on that. Okay, now we have our very last segment. This is for you, for our very last segment. Okay. So our very last segment that we do is called Favorite Things.
Favorite Things.
And so Ariane and I both share, and any TWIM guest that I have on, they have to share what their favorite thing is.
Okay.
And it can be something that you like. It can be a podcast that you've listened to. It could be a TV show. It can just be anything. It's not sponsored content. It's just something we like and we just want to share with the listeners. So I didn't tell you in advance about this because I didn't want you to stress out about this because I know what one of your favorite things is. So I just brought your favorite thing. So I'm going to let you hold up your favorite thing, and I'm going to let you explain to our listeners what your favorite thing is.
You are my favorite thing, Tiffany. But my second one is Zip Fizz.
Specifically grape.
Grape is my favorite.
Okay, tell us why you like Zip Fizz.
I'm not sure why. I drink them. I'm not sure if I drink them for fun or for the calm energy it gives me, for the vitamins or whatever. But I've drinking them for years and years and years. And I don't get sick.
No.
So.
And what's my nickname as it relates to Zip Fizz?
The Zip Fizz Fairy.
And why am I the Zip Fizz Fairy?
Because they just keep showing up.
The Zip Fizz Fairy just magically brings you Zip Fizz?
Yeah.
You should keep the Zip Fizz Fairy.
Oh, I will.
Okay, so my favorite thing tonight is actually Facebook Marketplace. And here is my Facebook Marketplace. This is my favorite thing. I have been doing like some serious Facebook Marketplace lately. not only have I been selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace, I've been buying stuff on Facebook Marketplace. So we have just been trying to, I don't know how it is that we collect so much crap, but
Yeah.
we are really good at collecting a lot of crap.
Yeah.
And so recently,
Good crap.
good crap.
Yeah.
So recently, I'm your Facebook Marketplace broker as well.
You are. You're paid very good.
I am. I take a commission.
Whether you want it or not.
The commission goes to the Birkenstock Fund.
Yes, it does.
Speaking of which, I'm going to be ordering a pair tonight because there's only 5 left in stock of one that I've had on my wish list for a while. So I was like, okay, it's time to empty the Birkenstock Fund and bite the bullet and order those. Anyway, so we've just been cleaning out stuff. We put it on Facebook Marketplace, sell it. It's a great way to like get some extra cash, get rid of crap you don't want anymore, repurpose stuff. But I have also been buying a lot of stuff on Facebook Marketplace as well, because our daughter is getting married on September 7th. And so we are like T minus 23 days, 22 days today, something like that. And so for a lot of the decor and stuff, I have been on Facebook Marketplace, scrounging Facebook Marketplace to find stuff because I don't want to go pay full price for something I'm going to use for one day.
And then you're going to sell it again.
Then I'm going to slap it up on Facebook Marketplace and I'm going to sell it again.
Perfect.
I did that when our daughter Shelby got married.
Yes.
So this is not my first rodeo with the Facebook Marketplace. So I highly recommend Facebook Marketplace. That's my favorite thing.
Nice.
All right. Well, listeners, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And Darren, I cannot believe you came on the podcast. I'm still in awe.
Neither can I.
Awe.
I'm in shock myself, actually.
Our children are going to think we're lying when I tell them.
Yeah, they really will.
Well, thank you very much for joining me tonight. I have thoroughly appreciated it, and I hope the listeners have enjoyed getting to know the man behind me that gives me so much love and support and allows me to continue to do this crazy podcast and just absolutely loves me unconditionally, for which I am so grateful for. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Tiffany.
So, all right. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach out at contact@thisweekinmormons.com. You can also find us on Facebook. We're not really doing too much of the other social media right now, but you can still find us on the Facebook. We try and throw up some stories every once in a while, put the show notes up there. So we appreciate your continued listening and your continued support. Thank you.